I don't think his game's changed a whole lot. He and Aaron have that instinctual chemistry that you probably see with kind of Chernak and McDonough. They just played together for so long that there's some instinct there. I think sometimes it's good that you get a change in a partner. So he's played with Jones, and he's played with just about everybody over the last couple of months, and it makes you rethink the game, right? You see the game differently because the situations that you're presented with are, you know, Seth moves the puck differently, gets up the ice differently. So it's been good for his growth. Um, and then I guess the other thing is he's got a legitimate complaint if he wants not being on the power play. Right? I mean, he's got to be the only defenseman with that many points that doesn't get a sniff on the power play. He can shoot it a ton. So we kind of discovered that about him. And then to the point that you're playing with it, you've got Seth in, Ekblad's out, and then Schmidt comes in and puts in two. So he stole that job. But no complaints from Gustav ever. He loves what he does.
Paul, I wanted to ask you about Nate Schmidt. You had him in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
You know the type of guy he is. Another guy that comes into your team and really fits in well.
Yeah.
What have you seen from particularly the second half of the season?
Yeah. So Nate, I was with him briefly there in Winnipeg. So I would say I knew his personality. That would be the thing that we liked about it, bringing him in. But we would also remember his start in Washington and then his play in Vegas. And we thought that in a different style, that he could get back to that. And I would say that's the difference from the first half of the year and the last half of the year. It's why we think that, I made that comment, it'll take Seth almost a year to make the switch. When you play in one style of defense for so long, it becomes who you are. And again, you stop thinking, but we just play a different game. There are other teams that play. Actually, Tampa, from a defensive point of view, plays a very similar game to our team. And it took them about 3-4 months to get out of the old style. Your reads change. What we're asking you to do changes. And we think he can. It's good for him because it will eventually drive the offensive out of, like, it will get more from that. We don't give ice. We want him up the ice, but he needs reps at it. And we felt that once the turn happened kind of after into the new year, that he got back to where he was almost at the start of his career, that kind of idea.
And Anthony Cirelli.
Oh, that was close. That was a fake over to the one-timer. Oh, you give it back to him? One touch did.
The previous two playoff runs for you, Lundell and Luosterainen, have had a veteran winger. Now that Brad Marchand's in the mix for you guys, how impactful has that been for those two youngsters?
Yeah, so all 3 years, right? So the first year, and at that time, Anton's 21, it's Sam Reinhart, who scored, I think, 33 goals in that year and is a great thinker of the game. So for Anton to come in, he gets to kind of watch Barkov, but play with what is one of the smartest players that I've ever coached in Sam Reinhart. Great opportunity for him. And then when Vlad came in, Vlad is a talker. Sam doesn't talk a lot, like he's not constantly talking. You just make sure you listen to everything he says when he says it because it's right. Vladdy liked to talk about the game off every shift. And you're a young center iceman and a young winger, that's what you learn. Okay, we'll talk about it. Now, Brad, what I'm most excited about isn't all the things that people talk about when they talk about Brad. I mean, the intensity's there, the fire's there. Yeah, but because of his skill set, Anton and A2 are starting to think about the game in terms of offense as well. And Anton scored 18 goals as a first-year pro, which is really impressive. Now, the team scored 340, so they were a very offensive-minded team. Then we asked him to get into that defensive structure, which I think is Anton's core. I think it's the Barkov idea. But now he's got that dialed in. We'd like to see something else. He's almost the perfect guy to come in, play hard. He's going to drive the intensity of the line. But there's an offensive component to that line I don't think that we've had.
Anthony.
Nice.
All right, so Anthony Cirelli is a game-time decision for Tampa today. I mean, how much does his absence kind of impact matchups and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to expect that he plays. We'll just assume that he plays and that he hasn't been ruled out. And then we'll then expect if he's playing, he's going to play well. So every team will go through that. It's almost identical to last year for us. We lost Sam Bennett, broke his finger game 3, I believe, and then we missed him for 5 games. You win games. You might look slightly different, but this is a veteran team, and there are no identity issues with it. They know exactly how they play the game, and they can slot people and move people easily to do that. So we prep for everybody being in, everybody being healthy. And I don't think their identity changes about who they are or how they're going to try to play the game.
How did you like the way your fourth line played in Game 1, putting Erod and Jesper in that spot next to Stern?
Yeah, very impactful for the coach in terms of your comfort level. A lot of what happens, especially in the playoffs, because there's probably 2 elite lines on each team, that sometimes you're sitting and you're trying to guess who's coming off their bench next. And I would say Tampa would be more aggressive in minutes. So your expectation is that Point or Cirelli's coming off that bench next. And if you don't have confidence with your fourth line, you get stuck being wrong a lot, especially early. You hold your fourth, their fourth comes out. They got a bunch of good players on it. Now you're running Barkov and Bennett into minutes you don't want to, and it becomes cumulative for you. So what that line lets you do, it lets you be wrong on the bench a few more times. And then at the 10-minute mark of that game, because of the score, I stopped worrying about that. And they took 5 or 6 shifts against the point line and were effective in it. It's not something I'd be looking for, but there's a confidence level I have with those men that they can play against any line.
And expecting the same lineup tonight?
Correct.